There is a Chinese spy balloon that we became aware of in the public arena in Montana yesterday. And this thing is slowly floating across the country. It is now in Kansas, is then scheduled to go to Missouri. Then it will fly across Tennessee and exit somewhere in the vicinity of North Carolina, South Carolina state line into the Atlantic Ocean. We have told China that this is unacceptable, and we have canceled a meeting that was scheduled between Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. But I got to tell you this, not acceptable, okay? So I don't see this as a political related issue, frankly, at all, other than the fact that China is awful and everyone in America should be united to the fact that we are effectively in a Cold War with China and have been for some time. And it's incredibly frustrating to me that so many people in America either seem unaware or unwilling to acknowledge this. And I started talking about it in a big way because I saw it in the world of sports, where the NBA and Nike in particular were effectively held hostage by China and were willing to rip America to shreds, the athletes and the companies were, but they wouldn't say a negative word at all about China. And I've continued to call that out, and I will for a long time to come. But this Chinese spy balloon situation, first of all, if a spy balloon enters into the United States airspace, if any foreign spying device enters into United States airspace, I think we should immediately shoot it down. This should not be controversial. This should be basic American policy that we do not permit our airspace to be invaded by foreign actors. And so I don't buy that this is accidental. I don't buy that this is some lost astray weather balloon. This is a Chinese spy act. It is an act of espionage, and there should be consequences. Now, I understand everybody out there who says, boy, if you think this Chinese spy balloon is a big deal, wait till you see what they're doing with TikTok in this country. I agree. And if you go back and listen to me as I have discussed TikTok, I've been saying for a long time that Chinese companies shouldn't be able to have access to the United States because they won't let Google, they won't let Twitter, they won't let many big tech companies in America have access to their markets when it comes to social media and the internet. Trump was right about this. This should have been a forced sell of asset to TikTok-based assets in the United States. Should have happened a long time ago. But this is part and parcel of what China's doing. They're engaged in covert espionage, spying activities designed to undermine United States legitimacy, both here in the country and around the world. And I've been writing and talking about this for a long time. But the standard practice here is this should be shot down. And it should have been shot down the minute that it came into our airspace. And the fact that we're just going to allow China to float a Chinese spy balloon all the way across the United States and exit into the Atlantic Ocean is completely unacceptable. I think we should shoot this thing down. And frankly, I'm surprised that a Republican governor has not done this and or sent up some sort of a retrieval device. This is a balloon that could theoretically be punctured and slowly descend to the earth. Now, if we are concerned, as maybe it is potentially the case that we are, that there could be some danger associated with this Chinese spy balloon, I understand that, then level with the American public and consider this to be an act of provocation on behalf of China. Maybe this is related to our announcement of our relationship with the Philippines, with continued American statements that we are going to defend China if it's invaded. But effectively, we are allowing a form of Chinese spying in this country, and we are allowing them to violate the sanctity of our airspace. It's unacceptable. And I said this earlier. I'm in Tennessee. Evidently, the forecast is that this Chinese spy craft is going to fly across the entire length of the state of Tennessee. If I were governor, I would seize this Chinese aircraft, this Chinese spy craft, and bring it down to earth. Maybe shoot it down. I don't think that we are sending a message of strength and solidity when we are allowing China to send this balloon all the way across the country. I think it's an embarrassment. Unfortunately, I think this is one of the disadvantages of having an 80-year-old president in Joe Biden who is not anywhere near the peak of his intellectual abilities. I don't think the peak of Joe Biden's intellectual abilities were ever very high, but I think that it is an embarrassment that he is our leader right now. I don't think there's any doubt that if Donald Trump were in charge, there would be severe consequences. I think Trump would shoot this thing down. Trump himself might go up in an F-16 and fly along to shoot it down. I'm kind of making light of it, but I also don't think China would have done this. This is what I believe happens when your adversaries don't respect your leadership. And I don't believe Joe Biden is respected anywhere around the world. I think he's seen as what he is, a weak man with limited faculties and power. And I think China is testing him. And I think, yet again, he's being found to be wanting in his ability to respond to this issue. And frankly, I think it's an embarrassment. I think this thing should be punctured, brought down to earth, studied. Look at what China is attempting to uncover with this spy balloon, and make it clear that this will not be permitted to happen again. And also figure out how this was possible in the first place. Where did this enter into American airspace in the first place? Did it come across Canada and enter into Canada and then cross into the United States and Montana? Did it come from the Pacific Ocean and float from Washington across Washington and then across Montana and on down into the United States on prevailing wind currents? To what extent is this being carried by China? To what extent is this being controlled? All these are important questions. I don't think we're getting the full story here. I think this is an embarrassment, yet again, of the Biden administration.